This is a topic that you probably wouldn't expect to be the first N4S stories video. But we all have been in a relationship before or had a crush on somebody, whether if it's a guy or a girl or somebody in the same gender. For my success, however, it has been pretty terrible. But who knows, maybe it will change for me in the future by the time I publish this video, as I am currently single. But I'm gonna tell you about how my love and relationship stories have gone for me as of now. Especially about a time where it truly changed my mindset to just be single for good. Or at least for now, temporarily. That certain time period dates back to 2013 to 2015. Before then, it was either childish crushes or being forced to kiss two Haitian girls in the mouth, which 9-year-old me didn't know any better. In the summer of 2013, I went with my mother and then my 6-month-old little brother to a place in Yoro, Honduras, where it was around a 1.5 to 2 hour drive from where we currently resided in Honduras for the summer in the West. And we went to visit some of my stepfather's relatives that wanted to see my little brother in person. We got there, we had a fun time talking to each other and visiting the little town that they lived at. This is also where I met a girl named Sophia, who, I mind you, at the time she was 13 and I was 11. Bet you thought I was older than her when it's actually the other way around, right? That same time, she had a boyfriend and I wasn't interested in her at all at the time. I even remember where we went to some hills to chill and relax with not just her man, but also 2 other friends of hers whom they were guys. Also, I had to go with the other 2 guys to hide in a bush to look at Sophie and her man just kissing and talking to each other, since I was pretty much hanging out with the other 2 guys than her and her man. Yeah, being creepy by hiding in a bush, but what can you say? She was the only female in that group. Thus, after 2 days in Yoro, I went back to the town where it was also my original hometown in El Progreso, Yoro, Honduras, for the rest of the summer to relax and eventually visit my father, and then come back to Florida in time for 7th grade, which it was also, or could have been, the first and only time I visited Sophia in person. Like I said, it could have been the first and only time I visited her, but then in an afternoon on February of 2014, I was just minding my own business playing some Forza 4, and all of a sudden I looked out the window and I saw Sophie again with 2 other girls that I knew well. One being in the same grade level in school that I was at, and the other one being elementary-ish in the same school, because my school was a K through 8 instead of just being either elementary or middle school. It was both in one. I went outside to go and talk to her for the first time in a while and say hi, but her friends told me no and go away, simply because we had a history with each other between those other 2 girls. And I went away, went back, and just ignored everything else and moved on with the rest of my day. Little did I knew, however, or how she got to the US, because since she was living in a poor town, really poor, in a poor family, which that's where I came from too. However, I was able enough to save enough money with my mother and come to the United States with the residence. Her case, however, she had to cross the border. Really, she had to cross the border with other people, and she then moved in to somewhere around Texas, and then when her family, which is also the relatives that is also with my stepfather, communicated with her, found her, and then they sent her down to Florida. And coincidentally, she was going to go to the same school that I was going to in the same grade level. And remember when I told you that she was a bit slightly older than me? At the moment, she would have gone to 8th grade, but they bumped her down to 7th grade. And that is where more or less that crush that I was having on her started, little by little. Then we started to initiate a friendship. Me helping with her in schoolwork because she didn't do any English at all. And also her family, if there was any concerns about her, how she's performing in school, and helping her in school on the classes that she had and any projects that were given to her. Also, you know when you have a crush on somebody and or a love or desire for a certain someone that you really want to have or share your feelings with them, it basically kind of changes your behavior. And it did for me. But it all started with another girl that I already mentioned that she was in the same school and was friends with Sophie, but they're also related. Oh, by the way, I'm not mentioning her name on this because she knows me well and it's just better not to mention her name, even though she already knows who she is. That is if she watches this video. And this is also goes for Sophie too. If you're somehow watching this video, just, I may have said your name, but nobody knows who you really are. But before I go on any further with Sophie, that other girl, I met her around May of 2013 when she one night came into my house just to visit us. And that was with her mother as well, that her mother is also related to my stepfather. Yeah, a lot of relations, I know. It ain't Sweet Home Alabama, okay? It's complicated trying to explain this family tree, but I ain't gonna explain it this year, Chief. But anyways, we hung out, we became friends, months went by, I started to build it in the inside. I didn't really tell her, but the way that it changed my behavior was me becoming something that I really wasn't ever since I came to the United States. Was being more active and just being a little bit cocky and arrogant. And this goes the same for Sophie, but in 8th grade, it got worse. Basically around the October, November, and mainly January part, we were great, we were friends, and the crush was still building up, and I was doing cringy, dumb things like writing poems, and that's all the best that I could do since 1, I was young, and 2, didn't know any better, and 3, that's the best that I could do from a poor status standpoint. I mean, I wish I had the letter and took a picture of it just for you to cringe at. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me anymore after 4 years, or 5 years almost. But yeah, that's basically the type of stuff I was trying to get her attention, but the worst things happen along the way too, because like I said, it really did change my behavior, not just to others, but in them as well, but also to my mother, in which she is the person that's been raising me the most ever since my father left when I was 2 years old. And it got worse to a point where I basically, how do I put this? I faked her writing? I mean, you guys know what I mean. I just don't want to really say it in the microphone. But when she found out, because I had like a D in pre-algebra, and she found out and she got really mad, and then I got beaten up by her belt and I deserted. Actually, no, it was her that did the writing because I asked her to, but it's just so bad just to memorize those events as I'm going back and mentioning this, because I don't want to do stuff like that to my mother ever again. After that day or night, I just stood quiet, realizing that I was so stupid to do that. Let them do that, also drag them into that situation, but eventually we all got over it and we moved on from there. Now, moving towards a party that happened in February of 2015. Also, we live across the street from each other, so we went there with my stepfather, my mother, and my little bro just to celebrate. It was either a birthday that was going on or Valentine's Day. I don't recall which party or occasion it was. But I was down at another friend's house that basically it's like basically a townhome, but it's 2 different houses at once. Not next to each other, but one being in front of the other. And I'm gonna call this kid Joe, but basically I was playing games with him. It was Call of Duty or Need for Speed and his other friend Owen, and we were just having a fun time. The other girl that I had a crush on also joined in, and Sophie came in too just to watch us, and that is when I legitimately found out. I heard rumors before this party that she had a man, and I wasn't really sure that was true or not. Then that night came, she really did, and then I got jealous at that point. I didn't say it, I didn't try to show it, but I just basically tried to not say anything much at that night. Months went by around March to April, and that is when around that time 8th grade prom was being announced, that we had to buy a certain amount of tickets in order to go there. And what really was so surprising and shocking to me is that is when I found out that Sophie broke up with her man. And I was like, yo, this is my chance, this is my opportunity. You see that shot over there, boy? You gonna shoot that shot. You gonna score, boy. You gonna get this win. You gonna get that W. You see that gap, bro? Take it. Because, like Ayrton Senna said, if you don't take that gap or you don't take that opportunity, you don't deserve to be a race car driver. And so I did. I was waiting for the right moment to ask her if she was okay if she can go to prom with me. 8th grade prom, to say the least. Middle school prom, not high school prom. But I asked her, and she said yes. And I was so happy at that, man. Literally asking a girl out without any type of help. Not for my mother, not for my father, and bear in mind, my father wasn't there in my life for ever since I was 2 years old, so it was pretty difficult. The night of prom, it went alright, actually, for at least what I saw. I mean, we hung out with our friends. I mean, I wasn't really a good dancer, but at least we had a fun time. We even took a picture of each other, which I'm probably gonna show that. Of course, with my face not blurred or with top of something, because you guys already know. But her face will. Then we eventually graduated from 8th grade and on to high school. But some things were not right when I was in Honduras for yet another vacation down there in 2015. I didn't know what it was, but eventually I found out around when I started freshman year. And I didn't go to the same school that she was going this time, because earlier in 8th grade, there was something called magnet schools where I get to do a career school, which is basically a normal high school, but a class will be a career school of what I want to do in the future. And that is where I started with automotive in Miami Lakes. But then, no, something in my head just came in and then realized and pinpoint every single thing that I'd done wrong that wasn't really worth it about going after her. Because around that time earlier, my mom told me that the person that falls in love first sight fails. And that's what I just saw, that she was right. Because I almost got screwed over not going to Miami Lakes, because I needed to get an average of C in all my grades in order to go. If I had lower than that, I wasn't going to go at all. But I managed to pick up the pace and then managed to get in. But it was about Sophie. I don't know, what was I thinking. I started to realize some things about what I was doing wrong, and she's not into me. And it's probably because of my height or my weight, my personality, or the way that I treat her and all that stuff. I've just been thinking of it. Maybe I wasn't the right guy for her, or I'm too young. I don't know what it was. But then it started to hit more to depression, and it's like I was thinking that she already had a man and moved on, while I really wasn't on the inside. I managed to succeed in Miami Lakes in my freshman year, but I don't know. I started to get like a hatred towards her around October to November. I looked at her, never said hi to her, and people were starting to question me, what was I doing it? Especially that other girl, and some of her relatives and friends were asking me that question, and I ignored. Even herself, Sophie herself, was asking those questions. I was ignoring her the most. They were asking me, why was I mad at her? What did I do to her? Or what did she do to me instantly? And I remember one time she came into my room and asked me, why do you hate me? Why am I looking at her so angrily? And that was when my cousin was next to me, because we were just playing or watching YouTube on my Xbox. And then she eventually left, and it was also around the time of my little brother's party. She came in outside. The other girl was saying hi to me. I said hi back. And then the other girl, Sophie, was saying hi to me. I didn't say hi back. Disrespectful, I know, but what can you say? It's pretty depressing time when you didn't get what you wanted as a 14-year-old, especially when you try your best of what you had, but you didn't succeed because it was obvious. And then onwards to February of 2016, a Valentine's Day party. We were just hanging out, having a good time, and oh my goodness, I saw her man. I know how her man looked like based on Facebook pictures, but seeing it in person, I just couldn't take it anymore. Around an hour or two later of when the party started, I just went home. I asked my mom that I could have the house keys and then just left. Never came back. And then I was just dead crying on the inside that this isn't worth it. I can't do this anymore. I just don't want to see her anymore. It was just kind of depressing when you realize when all the pieces of the puzzle come together and realize what you've done, that it wasn't worth it. Even around January time before that party happened, she was talking to me, I was talking to her normally while I was riding my bike outside, and we just talked normally while my heart was pounding on the inside really fast, and that I had that love towards her, but my mind was just holding back to not think about it. And then we just talked normally, and that was pretty much the last time that I talked normal to her. And then eventually, she also asked help for a project. Well, Joe asked for help for his project, because he was a grade level below us, around 8th grade that he was while we were freshmen. And I wouldn't go because of her, because of Sophie. I mean, if she wasn't there, I would gladly help him, but she was there, so what was I supposed to do? I even saw her in places like the fair. You know, if you're from the Miami area, you know what the Fair Expo is. That happens around March or April of every year. I saw her suddenly with the other girl, Joe, and another little girl with her mother. And I was with my cousin and a friend of my cousin. We were just hanging out, having a good time, you know, us being boys. And I saw her while we were trying to go to this kite ride, and they were behind us. I turned around, saw them, I said hello to all of them except Sophie. I just straight up didn't look at her. And then we went to another ride, which, by the way, that kite ride that we were trying to go at first, we didn't go because it was too full, so we went to a different one. And that different one was that boat that goes up and down. We were sitting side to side of each other. No, not next to each other. One side and then the other side. And what I could tell you is that when she was looking at me straight at my face, she was smiling. But then I was just looking away because of how I was being towards her. Because of how she was to me, even though eventually I found out it was all my fault for being stupid. And then that evening of that fair, that would have been the last time I'll see her. Well, there were other occasional times where I was exercising outside, riding with my bike, and then I saw her walking down with her boyfriend, and that was the most painful thing that I had to handle at that point. She was walking around the neighborhood with her man. I was riding as way as possible, as far as possible. There were two different sidewalks in the street that we lived at in the neighborhood. She was in one sidewalk with her man, I was in the other, trying to make sure I'm not getting too close to them and keeping my distance, but I couldn't just look away. It was inevitable. My heart was just pounding, my heart was hurting. I was really, but no, it wasn't worth it. Her man was there. I couldn't do nothing. I was just trying to right away not look at her and mind my own business, but I couldn't. It was impossible. But then I had to deal with it and moved on. Hopefully they went inside, and they did, and then, or I went inside. I don't recall for that part. Either way, it was just the best not to see her, depending on who went inside. There were also times that she came into my house, whether it was looking for my stepfather or my mother, or for other reason that I didn't knew of. But 2 times I remember from her coming to my house in 2016 was either hiding from her in my room, because my room was the nearest to the front door because there was a window there, and anybody could easily see if anybody is there if a curtain was not down. Usually it's not during the day and anybody could see me. That is if I was in the room. Other times I was other rooms and around the house, like the living room or anywhere. And she knocked on the door, I let her in, she was looking for my mother, and I didn't say anything, and I was just moving around, staying away from her as possible, keeping my distance, and then she just got a little bit upset and then left. And then I sent her a text and messenger that goes along the lines of, I just don't want to see you for several reasons. I don't hate you, but I apologize for the way that I was acting and moving around, not sending you anything. And then the last text that she ever sent me, it's okay, in 2016. Really, that was the last text that I'll ever see from her. A week later went by, and then my mother told me to guess who was pregnant. I just didn't know what to answer that question because it was just so random. I mean, I assumed it was her. My stepfather and her are getting another child, even though I didn't want it to happen. But then she told me it was Sophia, and then I just got upset there. Because not only the girl that I had a crush on the most had to move on with another man, which will be impossible to get, because Mr. Still Your Girl is not going to work in this scenario, but she's having her own child. Wow, not only I got mad because it's already late, it's not worth it anymore, but she also screwed her life over because she gets to drop out of high school in freshman year. But seriously, that was the last thing that I expected it to happen, and that was the last thing for me to realize that I don't want to see her anymore, and I just want her away from my life. There were also other crushes that I had around Miami Lakes, but they were not worth to mention in this video. There was one, however, with a girl named Jenny, but that wasn't worth it. I mean, we only argue with each other, but we were great anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I mean, for one instance, she kissed me in the head for some particular reason. That's what I remember around March of 2016. Really. And then eventually she kept teasing me, that calling me "hey boo" and all that shenanigans. Even in sophomore year, before I left Miami Lakes to go to Orange Park High. But in Sophia's case, I never seen her again. Other than one rare instance in July of 2016, but that really isn't anything special. But overall, what I learned is that falling in love at first sight really can change your behavior and really can mess you up in a lot of things. And I learned that the hard way, and ever since, instead of just learning from our mistakes and then try to, hook up with somebody else in either the Lakes or in Orange Park High, I decided to strictly stay single, and that's something that I just decided to do since 2015. And that decision has truly worked out for me. Really. My academics levels went up, not other extracurricular activities because I decided not to do them. But it was sad and depressing to deal with the fact that I just couldn't love anybody because this is what I chose to do. But it was worth it, and a great choice to not mess up my chances of getting graduated. Because I am smart, not the greatest. But that doesn't mean I will be able to fail that easily because of one female. Or multiple females. Because, crushes are inevitable no matter what gender you like. They're all inevitable because you just like that one guy or that one girl or it. And you really want to say something and do things with them, whether you have the chance and succeed or have the chance and fail, or you just can't do it at all. The moral of the story is, if you're going to fall in love, make sure you're consistent enough of what you're going to do. Because if you do one mistake or you can't really handle it, then it's not worth to do it at all. And this is especially to guys because you don't know if a female will really just want you for your money or your social status and just yourself. After those events, I've just been getting a lot of inevitable crushes with other females, but I interacted with them as friendly as I could, not starting to make some moves because that would be pretty dumb for me to do and it wouldn't be worth it at all. I even got teased by a girl where she was very popular in Orange Park High. Her name was Bree. Let's just leave it at that. And my friend was telling me to, do some things to her, like, not really bad things, but say things to her. And the way that we first started talking to each other was when I said, let me check my DMs. Not in the way that I had any thoughts on me or any females trying to contact me. If not, that was when a fan of my channel around October messaged me on Instagram that I want to say something, that he really likes my content and stuff. And she heard that out of proportion and thought I had females that were on me, when that really wasn't the case. And really, I wanted to communicate with her and just be friends, not take it any further, because I know, even if her man doesn't know how to fight or defend his girl or anything, even if he does, I don't know, because I don't know her man very well. What I know is that he graduated earlier than her, but I didn't want to engage in those type of conclusions or any type of information about her and her man. And that is also when I started to make more jokes, just for fun, not to make fun of her or anything. I mean, really, she was pretty and hot too, but I had to resist because it wasn't worth it. Not because she's not worth of anything, but because she was already taken and I had no chance. Really, I didn't have any chance. Not even my YouTube clout will work in this scenario. But yeah, remember, we all fall in love at some point, whether if it's a guy or a female. Different gender, same gender. But at first sight or being too nice cannot lead you to anything good or the result that you want. And it's just best to either hold it until adulthood, or, if you can, stay single for the rest of your life. But again, it all really comes down to our decisions, whether if it's good for us or bad for us. You decide. I'm just here telling my story.